Arnstein here again with another tuba review. This time we're going to see my 1925 King 3-valve recording bell or Bell Forward Tuba. Now if you look out on YouTube and you look for Singapore Slingers wax cylinder, put those in as the key words, you'll actually see me on this horn. And the idea was, at that time, back in the 20s, the bass notes didn't come through that well on 78 RPM and wax cylinder recordings. So, to give the tuba a little more bark, a little more power in these recordings, considering the infidelity of the recordings, or lack of fidelity, the tuba's bell was bent forward. Now I noticed for sessions, what you don't know is that I am blowing about as loud as I can possibly play to have the tuba part even show up. So, what are we talking about? This is a 1925 King. You notice it's in satin silver. Now my whole life I always wanted a bright silver plate horn, and I have a demo of a Wessex Grand, the first new tuba I'd bought, or new horn I bought in probably 40 years, and it was beautiful. But the problem with a satin instrument, or a bright silver plate instrument, is you see every fingerprint that gets on the instrument. And my God, that kind of drove me nuts. I was just always polishing it, always wiping it, always wanting it to be clean. So, as much as I, think about how pretty that is, and they are just beautiful horns. Everything I've ever seen in bright silver plate is just beautiful. It's just a work of art. The satin ones are a little easier to deal with, and even more easy to deal with is, of course, lacquered brass. It seems to have a thicker coating. People talk about sonic characteristics and all that kind of stuff. I've talked to a lot of professional tuba players, including Kleinstuber of Den Big Brass, who played the Hall Symphony. He says he really can't tell the difference. So, if I had my choice now, and I will show you in another video, now I'm getting just lacquered horns. Having said that, this one's silver plate, has the typical 1920s gold washed bell, which makes for a really pretty combo. This would be nice to see them bring all that back. Valves are worn as you'd expect for a nearly 100-year-old horn, and I have one that's older. I have my York back here, and what I have found is that when I'm using these instruments, especially in the foxtrot music, using Ultra Pure's light-bearing oil, which was put on to me by a friend who also plays vintage horns, really gets the valves to seal up pretty damn well. And you don't have to go through having your horn gone for a long time to have someone replay it and rebuild the valves. And I had one of those jobs, didn't last very long, and I wasn't really happy about it. So, this horn's in good shape. You're going to see this if you look at my YouTube channel. It's in a lot of Singapore Slingers filmed. And the reason for that is, this is really the perfect dance hall horn. It's got some bark to it. It's got a bright sound. Of course, you can dull that up and change it with the mouthpieces that you've used. And when people talk about changing the sound of their instrument and stripping off the finish or doing whatever, to me it's like, okay, why don't we first just buy a different mouthpiece and see how they go. And there are ones that are quite a bit of difference. If you get a loud LM10, which is super shallow, that's going to be super bright, has a big lip, but it articulates super well. You just have to really control your performance on that. And a lot of people, look at double B flat tubas and they think, hell with that. I want to play in the orchestra, I want a double C tuba on 4 valves, 5 valves, and if you have an F, maybe 6 valves, whatever. To get to all the notes that you would get to and to do that, or to constantly play the slides, when I see people playing, if they don't have the slide pulled before they start playing, then I kind of have to wonder what's going on, because as a trombone player, I always have the slide in position before I play a note. And if you want to see me playing a trombone with Singapore Slingers, you can look for the Spud Murphy Jingle Bells example for that. And I'm playing my solid nickel silver Olds opera. Anyway, let's get back to talking about the tuba. So having said all my philosophy and all that, in these videos I tend to play etudes that I have played now for maybe 50 years. And the reason for that is that whenever you watch my videos, you can see how the horn's reacting. And if I've played this horn before, you can also see how I'm aging and how my mind is changing and my ability to control the valves. It's like my brain and my hand connection is not always that great. But why don't we listen to the horn and let it speak for itself? So you can play classical stuff on these horns, and you can play it loud, you can play it soft. If you're going to play outside jobs, or you're going to play outside with a community band, really a sousaphone or a forward bell tuba is a far better instrument for that. I've used this in a lot of polka jobs as well. I had a really nice 1934. At first I said it was a 1912 Con, but it's 1934 Pan American Elkhart. Con didn't make stencils, and I learned this off through people on the internet. And this was like a 114 cable. And the instrument played beautifully. I was really happy with it. One of the things that I want to go over with you and talk about briefly is a lot of people play all these notes and play real loud, real soft, and play super sub pedals, and that stuff doesn't really mean anything to me. But that's not like you can't play that on a 3-valve horn. The way that I'm doing that is when I get down to the low F, then open as E flat now, and then I use one step up fingering to go from there. So these horns can and will play the lower octaves. You just let your lips fly, and you use a little different technique. I'm going to try something a little more singing, something I've often played in my other videos. We'll see how well this goes. I haven't really read through it today, and I admit I don't practice that much. I just play in a community band. I just play for fun. So there you go. I think that's pretty musical. Of course, there are times I'm misarticulating it. I haven't been playing this horn at all. I kind of retired from the Singapore Slingers in April, and so I no longer need this horn. I've got another horn that does the same job if I decide to come out of retirement, and that's Con 24J, and I'll show that in another video. But one more chart here is a demo. Let's take something that's a little more Singapore Slingers and see how the old dance hall horn sounds for that. There you go. 1925 King, 3-valve, Bell Forward, Gord Wash Bell. Really nice old horn. I'll kind of miss it, but I'm not playing it. One thing I wanted to mention about this horn, we're going to cut in this little segment of video, is you'll notice that right here I have this device. Now what I did was, when I was playing this King and when I bought it, if I set it on the chair, okay, the mouthpiece is way too low for me. And that makes the instrument harder to play. You have to think about holding onto the instrument. You have to think about keeping it level and all that sort of stuff. But by making this little wooden pedestal, custom made to my height, and you say, okay, well, why don't you get a Hercules stand? Well, the problem is, with a Bell Forward Tuba, it's going to try to go forward the whole time. It's going to try to tilt this way, scoot out, and slip off the stand. It just doesn't work. Now, I guess I could try and lean it back and try to balance it, but you're not going to do that. So on my little stand here, I've got some kind of a sticky or grippy rubber on it. And when I set the instrument on it, boom, boom, it's right where I want the mouthpiece to be. I don't have to think about holding the instrument. All I have to do is play it. So there you go. Make the horn comfortable for you to play. Find a mouthpiece that makes the instrument work best for you. It's all about having things easy to play. When an instrument's easy to play, then you don't have to screw around with wondering how it's going to articulate when you play a given note, what the valves are going to do, or whatever. I've had that with other instruments. Believe me, make the instrument comfortable for you to play. Free yourself up to put your creative energy and everything in your mind into the music and performing. Whether you're concentrating on style or playing very difficult patches, just make the instrument easy to play.